What's up, everybody? I'm going to give just a minute for the live stream to syndicate. I'm pretty excited. This is the first time we've ever done this, and I'm hoping I set it up properly. I can't make any promises, but if I did, we will be successfully live streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Rockfin. And Rockfin's actually where I don't think I can actually see the chat where I'm live streaming from now. Kumba's over there having a good time. But what I'll do is I'll probably lean on Rockfin, and that'll be like a chat room where we can all interact. So if I start scheduling these live streams and whatnot and give you guys a heads up, that'd be cool. But otherwise, forget about it. No big deal. We'll just kind of record them like podcasts. So I don't know how long you're supposed to wait in order to know that you're appropriately live in all of the necessary places and syndication is successful, but minute and 20 seconds seems good. So here's what we got on the docket for today. My solution for buying water and not using plastic. And one of the big, I won't get into too much detail, but basically like there's a lot of charities and a lot of charity work around getting rid of plastic. And yet very few people are talking about how simple this solution is, which is stop buying things that come in plastic. And if you're drinking out of plastic and you're eating out of plastic, you need to stop supporting whatever got that plastic to you, right? And stop the flow of money to that. And we'll talk about my solution for buying water in that regard and filtering and structuring your water. How to detox plastics from the body. We're going to talk about what to look for when buying land and setting up your nature retreat. This is provided we have enough time. I got to keep this to 30 minutes. My mom's hanging out with Pop, watching him, and I'm going to take over. So I basically have 30 minutes of runway. Of course, the title track to this episode, that time I bruised my you-know-what. I'm going to tell you guys that story. Food storage, being prepared in the event that it becomes increasingly difficult to access food at an affordable price, or even at all for periods of time. What do you want to have on hand? How to be strategic about it. If we have time, another funny story about me missing my flight home from Austin last weekend. I've got a letter, cool package that I received from one of you guys. I'm going to open that on the air and read it. And then, we're going to talk a little bit about all these Eye of Sauron towers that have been popping up everywhere. Well, since, call it early 2020. And the coincidental timing of the other things that have unfolded along said timeline, how they impact our health, how the devices that we've allowed into our homes and that are being put on our homes, oftentimes without our consent, impact our health, and what to do about it. My ask is this: if you guys get value from this episode, share it up, friends, family, coworkers, and invite them to listen. Also, if you'd like to send handwritten letters like this one that I'm holding here in this lovely orange envelope, or money, I got to build a house and a biohacking gym in North Carolina, and every bit is appreciated. Now, I'm not begging for money here. I'm just saying if you've gotten value from what we've done with Biohacking Secrets, whether that be the Biohacking Secrets Show podcast and the 240 episodes, 240 plus episodes we put out for free, the Biohacker's Guide to Upgraded Energy and Focus, videos that I've made, coaching that I've done, our events, whatever. If you've gotten value that exceeds what you have given, then this is an opportunity for us to make good on that, and for you to help me build my biohacking gym and home. And I love Gainesville coins for silver and gold and heavy metals, and I also love cash. So obviously, I love getting letters too, handwritten, that I can read on the air. But if you're in a position to contribute and you have that type of abundance in your life, then it would mean a lot to me, and it would really help me build something special in North Carolina. And we're doing something cool where, for any of you guys that end up donating 5K or more, I'm going to put that towards a decade in a day, a one-on-one decade in a day with me, that people usually pay 7,500 or in some cases almost 10 grand for. And you're basically going to be getting it for like half off. So you will get to come train with me in my biohacker gym in North Carolina. We'll get some outdoor workouts. We'll do some cold plunges. We'll create a whole personalized game plan for you, supplement blueprint of brain targeting nutrients and other ways to radically level up your physical and mental potential. And if you guys, those donations, letters, whatever it is, you can send those to P.O. Box 7151, Deerfield, Illinois, 60015. And again, if you're not in a position to donate, just send a letter. You know, if we've impacted your life in a positive way, feel free to share your story, whatever it is that you'd like to share. And without further ado, let's dive in. So, yeah, a lot of talk around plastics lately, and to even go there, we need to stop buying things that come in plastic. So then the question becomes, what's my solution for water? Now, our solution here that is temporary is we have a 4-gallon Berkey, Berkey water filter with the fluoride attachments. And then from there, I vortex the water in this Mayu vortexing device that I was told about by Isabella Friend. She's got a website that is waterislife.store, and you can get those Mayu devices there. Now, I've heard mixed things about studies done on the Berkey and how effective it is at actually removing fluoride and other toxic heavy metals. I'm not overly concerned about it because we're moving to North Carolina and we're going to have clean mountain spring water, which is like the best water in the world on our property. We've got multiple springs and made sure of that before we purchased the land. So I'm okay running the tap water through a Berkey with the Berkey filters, with the fluoride filters, and then vortexing it for now. But it may be something that you guys want to take into account. And if you live in places like Mexico, you may need to go with something more like a reverse osmosis filter and then remineralize. Aqua True, AQUATRU. They make a countertop reverse osmosis filter that I had, and I thought it was okay. I actually threw it away. It was requiring more cleaning internally than I wanted to deal with, but I haven't heard that issue from anyone else. Just got sick of it and chucked it down the trash chute in like 2017. Cool. So that kind of covers water. How to detox plastics from the body? The short answer is sauna, especially saunaing after your workouts. So you get a workout in and then you jump into sauna for, it really depends on what type of sauna you're doing. I've got an infrared sauna, but I like traditional saunas better. The hotter, the better, in my opinion, when it comes to sauning. And I think a lot of these wimpy infrared saunas don't do nearly as good a job. I mean, I've had 3 infrared saunas. I currently have 2, and I go use a traditional sauna whenever I can. So if that tells you anything. Now, we've got a ton of ways to soup up our saunas, but that depends on what you've tested for in terms of toxins. Are we dealing with plastics or heavy metals or pesticides or glyphosate? There are specific ways to go about these things, and that's all part of our coaching program. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, you can go to biohackercoaching.com and fill out the application and we can talk. Want to hit another value bomb, and then I'll tell a funny story about that time I bruised my you-know-what. Let's talk about what to look for when buying land. One of my friends called me and she was like, I was getting ready to jump on another call and she's like, do you have a minute? I really want to ask you some questions. My sister and I are looking at buying land. So we had a quick chat. She was like, "What do you look for?" I'm like, here's what I looked for. I wanted unrestricted land. I didn't want any restrictions on what I could do with the property. Water is life. Like Isabel Friend's store says, water is life.store. Water really is life. If you don't have a water source on your land and a clean water source, and preferably a spring water source, well is okay, but I like spring water way better than well water. You don't really have a nature retreat or a homestead. It's going to be super, super hard. So you want to find land that's unrestricted. You want to have land that preferably has spring water on it, and ideally multiple springs, at least one. Then I wanted a place that was far outside of a city. I think cities, with everything the way that it's been unfolding, are not a place that you want to be. And if you're living in a city, I would highly encourage you to be making moves to GTFO. Does that work? Yeah, like yesterday. Um, I personally chose an area where there wasn't a lot of cell service, and I wanted that. I don't want a place where Elon Musk is coming in with his satellites and polluting the air. And I think when you have a bunch of people voting for that and asking for that, it's not a place that you want to live. Um, it's like what we're doing to our air with the electrical radiation. It's like the same thing that people have complained about and petitioned against, with like companies dumping their toxic chemicals in rivers and streams. They just think that because we can't see it, it's not affecting us. It's like it's really, really bad biologically. It affects our mitochondria, the amount of oxidative stress that our cells are under. It causes double-stranded DNA breaks, accelerated aging. It throws off our hormonal balance, and it manifests in different ways for different people. So it affects everyone. Some people are more some people are affected in ways that they are able to perceive, whereas other people are not. That's how I would put it. So I chose land where there's very little cell service and you got to drive a little bit to get it. And if they come anywhere near where we're at with those towers, they're going to be hell to pay. So that was something that was important to me. Other people might be like, "Oh my God, no cell service. What am I gonna do?" And that's fine. It's just not my speed, and I don't. I'm cool with a landline. I'm on a 2-year plan to get rid of my cell phone. So, um, what else do you want to look for? You want community. It's a lot of work to get self-sufficient. It's pretty easy to get community sufficient. If you've got people you can barter and trade with, people that care about you, who have your back. If the ish hits the fan, people that you can mount up with and get together and say, "Hey, that ain't gonna fly." We got 50 witnesses here, 100 witnesses here. That ain't going down. You know, um, those are the type of bonds that you want. And the advice that I've heard from Owen Benjamin was like, you want to know 10 people within 10 miles. So you can think of it like that. I want to invite cool people that I want to live with to come join us where we're at, as long as they're not ushering in Wi-Fi and BS and other things like that. And part and parcel with what you look for when you're purchasing land is knowing your sheriff and making sure that he is committed to upholding the Constitution, because sheriffs have the ability to overturn unconstitutional federal mandates. And I think we're seeing that the presidents, our political parties, they're two wings of the same bird. They're all essentially controlled by the central bankers. So when you realize that it's kind of just a dog and pony show up there, and it doesn't really matter who we vote for at the federal level, it's still going to be controlled by the same people, and they're just going to keep pushing their agendas. We got to plug in at the local level, get involved in politics, get involved in the school systems, and say, "Hey, this stuff will not fly." And I think it's important to live in a place where this is probably one of the most important things. It ties into sheriff, it ties into the land. You got to look at the psychology of the people you're living around. If they've got city psychology and they're like supporting everything that's gone on these past 2 years, you probably don't want to be there unless you're one of those people, which is fine too. If you want to go that route, I don't. So if you think a lot of what's going on is a direct violation of our inalienable God-given rights and constitutional rights, then you probably want to surround yourself with people who feel the same way and are willing to, have a spine to stand up for themselves. I found that a lot of that was people who generally lived further south. But there's some dope people in Montana and Michigan and other places up north too, Minnesota. So it really just depends where you want to live, and then plugging into a community and putting in the work to build that community around you and your land, not water, I want a house, whatever. You know what I mean? Um, I also wanted a property where we could have off-grid power. And off-grid doesn't mean in the middle of nowhere. It means you're not getting your power from the city. That's all it means. So you can have like an off-grid property in the middle of like a suburb, um, depending on the legislation where you live. So that's why it's important to look at unrestricted land where you can do stuff like that. Because like, good luck in California. That state is beautiful, but created to breed dependence, and by not allowing things like that, or they'll make you pay out the wazoo if you want to try to do anything that is leaning towards self-sufficient. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to tell a story, and then we'll cover some emergency preparedness stuff. Maybe I'll tell another story if we got time, and then what are we at? Okay, and then we'll wrap it up. So this was kind of funny. I love snowboarding. I went to Colorado with my dad for the first time, and when I was like 16 years old, and I skied for the first half of the trip, and then get myself some G8. This is so this is from High Vibe, Chicago. It's a superfood juicery. They got 2 locations. This is my favorite one. Their G8. It's got cucumber, zucchini, celery, fennel, cilantro, romaine, kale, and mint. And I picked up like 6 of these yesterday. It's AIP friendly, meaning autoimmune paleo. It's keto friendly. It's vegan friendly. It's all raw, organic, cold pressed. So check out High Vibe, and they're at High Vibe Shy on Instagram. My buddy Nick runs it. It's a fantastic company. So I tried snowboarding for the first time when I was 16 and never went back to skiing. I loved it. Still haven't skied since. And I got pretty darn good because one of my best friends was like a sick skier. Like he could hit jumps and do like 360 helis and crazy stuff like that. So I got really fast on a snowboard just keeping up with him. And we'd go together all the time to Colorado. We actually got arrested for going out of bounds and skiing and snowboarding in an avalanche zone. We almost went off a cliff. That's another story. Maybe I'll tell you guys sometime. But I've never really spent too much time in the terrain parks, largely because every time I do, I end up like just hurting myself. So I went to this local mountain here called Wilmot a few weeks back, and it was probably like 3 weeks ago now. And one of my friends, one of my girl space friends, we just both like snowboarding, so we'll go there together. And she's like, "You want to do the train park?" And I was like, "All right." And as we kind of made our way over to the train park, all of a sudden I got this like burst of confidence, and I'm like, "Just go for it." So I go flying in, and I hit this tabletop, which is like almost like a fiberglass platform that's like I don't know, a foot and a half, 2 feet wide. And I like cruise and glide down that, nail my landing. And now I'm like feeling more confident, keep going. And then I'm headed right for this fiberglass jump. And I'm going really fast and I'm a little bit out of balance. I go launching off of this fiberglass jump. I'm immediately like horizontal in the air and coming down ass first. I hit so hard on this giant sheet of ice. I don't know, it just felt like a wall of ice. I felt like I had just been gang raped by a tribe of silverback gorillas. And I'm laying on the ground, but when you fall, if you've ever done like the train park or done jumps like this, you know you got someone else usually coming behind you. And if you don't get out of the way, even if you're hurting, they're going to land on you, right? So I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, this is why I don't do this. I'm like, I think I'm internally bleeding. And I get myself up and kind of get out of the way. And my friend's like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm in a tremendous amount of pain. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, honestly. Like I'm juicing the story a little bit, but I do have a super high pain tolerance. And for me to feel as much pain as I felt, I was like, that was bad. Well, a little bit later that night, my left hip, I hit on my ass, and my left hip is like swollen like a cantaloupe. And the next day, I wake up and I'm going to the bathroom and I look down, and Tony Jr., if you catch my drift, is literally black and blue. The eggplant is eggplant colored. And I'm like, what the F is going on right now? Like, not only have I never seen that, I didn't even know that was possible. And I'm like, I think I'm internally bleeding. And I was like, that maybe that's why I'm hurting so much. Like whatever muscle it is that you use to like go number two or stop going number two or like stop your pee stream, that whole area internally was in pain. And so I look down and I see this and I'm like, I think I'm internally bleeding. And then I was like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So I was like, nothing I could really do. Just kind of wrote it out. It was bad for like a week. I only told a couple people until now, but I thought that was hilarious. Like I didn't even know you could bruise your penis. But you can. In case you were wondering, you can. And I was able to do it with a really, really bad snowboarding fall in the terrain park. So that was one funny story. I'll give you one more, and then we'll kind of wrap up and land the plane nice and easy, under 30 minutes. So the second one, I went to Austin for my buddy James' birthday party. We were just catching up on Zoom, and he's like, "Dude, it's my birthday, like 2 weeks from now. Do you want to come to Austin?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" So I just booked a flight. His wife sent all these emails with like the plans and everything like that, and I'm kind of like not really a planner. I'm just like, I'll show up. And he was like, you could stay here, whatever. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna be staying with them. I'll just do what they do. You know what I mean? Didn't read any of the emails, just booked my flight and showed up. I got in like on a Wednesday, and then I got an Airbnb. Airbnb had a place, not a placemat, a doormat. And on the doormat, sometimes they'll say like welcome or this or that. The one at the Airbnb I was staying at said, come back with a warrant. I was like, I like Texas. And so I stayed there Wednesday night, and then I went to James' house on Thursday, and we played some golf, talked a lot, did some masterminding, went out to some good dinners, hung out with some awesome people there, and shared some cool God moments. If you guys aren't already on this, so we're launching a second podcast called God Moments, which are like beautiful, true stories about moments our lives get touched by the divine. And I'll share my God moment in like the first episode and whatever, but these are things, we all have them. And whether your God is God or infinite intelligence or Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We're talking about the being or energy that created the universe, right? Wherein all of this began. And so we all have and experience these God moments. And if you guys are interested in sharing yours, I just got the form set up at godsmoments.com. Or maybe it's God's Moment. I don't know, but just try it. It's GODS and then either moment or moments, and you'll find it. There's a form there that you can fill out if you have one of these stories that you'd like to potentially share with other people. I think it's a really cool way for us to inspire and uplift one another. And these stories that everyone was telling at dinner were like mind blowing, totally mind blowing. I thought mine was good, and I heard two that were way better. So anyway, that's where you can do that with God moments. So we all went out Saturday night, and then they were staying at the hotel that we were at. I didn't know that because I didn't read the emails. But when we were getting ready to go to the hotel, James was like, "Are you coming to the hotel?" And I was like, "Dude, I thought I was just staying here. I did not make any arrangements, and like the hotel was full." So he's like, "All right, no big deal. You can take care of our little French bulldog Louis." And Louis amazing. Just like him and my dog Kumba are like my two favorite. They're like my two favorite creatures ever in the world, my cosmic buddies. So I get home Saturday night after we've had dinner and some drinks and played around to golf and this and that, and I'm hanging out with Louis. We go to sleep. I wake up around 9:30. So I'm like, I could go get a cold plunge, and it'd probably get some of this wine stagnation out of my system. Went a little hard on the rosé and tequila on Saturday night. So I'm like, all right, I'll go get a cold plunge, and then that'll be very refreshing. So I get in their pool, and I'm enjoying my cold plunge, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, this pool's a mess. There's leaves everywhere. I'm like, I wonder if he has one of those pool cleaners. So I start looking around, and I go and I grab a pool cleaner, and I just start like getting the leaves out of the pool, right? And then I'm kind of like getting into it. So next thing I know, I'm like, I'm going to clean this pool better than it's ever been cleaned. I'm going to have it spick and span, not a leaf in it. So I'm climbing up on these like lion statues that they've got on the far side of the pool to try to get to areas that like I couldn't get to otherwise. I'm in the pool and completely lost track of time. Like, I don't know if you've ever just been like so into something and having a good time where it's like you lose track of time, but that happened. And then as I'm finally getting to a place where it's devoid of any and all leaves, I realize my fingers are going numb. And I'm like, I wonder how long I've been in here. So I finish that and I go running inside and I look, I've got a 150 flight. I get inside and look at the time and it's 11:55. I jump on the Uber app. It says they could have a car to me in 25 minutes. And we are still 45 minutes away from the airport because I went to that Airbnb first rather than going to his place. I never paid attention to how I never looked at how far his place was from the Austin airport. Apparently it's 45 minutes, even though it's still in Austin. I didn't realize Austin was that spread out. So, and there's like a lot of the driving around Austin is kind of weird because of the Colorado River and the way that thing wraps and Lake Travis and stuff. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss my flight. So I called the Uber driver and I'm like, hey, bro, anything you could do to hurry this up would be super appreciated. And he's like, I'm on it. Guy was a boss. He comes tearing into the driveway. I say goodbye to Louis. I go running out with all my stuff, get in the car. And ETA is like 125 for a 150 flight. And I got to check a bag. And he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you to arrivals because departures is a freaking mess because of South by Southwest. You're going to run inside, run upstairs. And he goes, what's your excuse? And I'm like, oh, good question. He goes, you need a good excuse because you need sympathy points, and your actual story is going to get you 0 sympathy points. I'm like, yeah, I lost track of time cleaning my friend's pool, so I missed my flight, right? That's, no one wants to hear that. And I'm like, well, I don't really feel comfortable using death as an excuse. I think that's bad juju. I'm like, how do you feel about me saying my Uber was sideswiped on the way to the airport? And he's like, do it. You're good to go. So we got our game plan. He drops me off at Arrivals. I go running in. I run up to the gate at American. I'm like, my Uber was sideswiped on the way to the airport. It's like 125 right now. And this guy pulls me to the front of the line. He's like, you're not getting on that plane. He's like, you could make it maybe, but I wouldn't have even made it because the security was a mess too. But he's like, your bag, we have a 45-minute cutoff and you have to be on the same flight as your bag. And I was like, oh man. He goes, but wait. He goes, I got one more seat in the 450 flight. He goes, I'm going to get you on the 450 flight. He goes, I'm going to take care of this with no extra charges. And you are good, my friend. I'm like, you are amazing. You're like my guardian angel right now. And so American Airlines totally took care of it. I want to give them a shout out because so many airlines are a complete nightmare lately. American was pretty cool in the way they handled this. And I believe his name was Mike at the Austin airport. If anyone knows Mike at the Austin airport who works for American, he was huge. So ended up getting on the flight. I did miss a family party that was going on that day that I thought I would be a little late to, but not miss. I missed it because of that, but ended up getting home on time. And yeah, if you guys are digging these episodes and you like the stories and that sort of thing, share it up, send it to people who will also like it. And I'm not above you send it in donations. Like I said, I'm building a home. I'm building the biohacker gym. If you happen to be in a position to send in 5K or more, you get yourself a decade and a day at half price and a chance to come hang out with me. Not a chance. You will come and stuff in North Carolina. Um, Donations, handwritten letters, that sort of thing. P.O. Box 7151, Deerfield, Illinois 60015. P.O. Box 7151, Deerfield, Illinois 60015. All right. So what else did we have here? Food preparedness, emergency preparedness. So I've got like 6 tubs of emergency foods from what is it? Health Ranger store that from Mike Adams from Natural News. I bought like 6 of their tubs of emergency rations that have a good amount of dried goods in each of them, but like not enough for a year. Like a lot of people who are pretty based, including, and I could be wrong here. Let me know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I've heard Mormons all have like a year of food saved up. But a number of people now, especially with what's been taking place in the world and how it looks like food shortages are coming, are making moves to prepare. And like my buddy Branch, who worked with us for a while and we've stayed close. I mean, he's got 2,500 calories per day per person in his family all saved up. He'll have like 4.5 million calories worth of food or something like that ready to go, vacuum sealed, um, within the next week. And let me kind of pull up his spreadsheet so I can give you guys a bit of an idea. So he's got some of the things he's using. Like I said, I have those kits from the Health Ranger store, and I'm gonna do dried goods and load up on other things like chlorella and spirulina too, which are really, really good complete foods in these types of situations. But here are the things that Branch has stored up: honey, rice, oats, lentils, sugar, sea salt, spices, maple syrup, vinegar, ghee, coconut oil, olive oil, bouillon cubes, soy sauce, non-GMO, freeze-dried milk, freeze-dried eggs, freeze-dried diced chicken, freeze-dried diced beef. He's got 5 people in his family. He calculated 2,500 calories per person, which the amount of calories that are required for 1 year would be 4.5 million. And the calories that he will have in storage will be 4.6 million within this week. Now, he did a macros breakdown of roughly 20% fats, 60% carbs, 20% protein. Depending on what nutritional religion you follow, you may agree or disagree with that. Doesn't really matter. But I thought that was super cool that he's on it. He's got all that vacuum sealed and ready to go. So um, I would take a look at what you have in storage. Do you have a water source, food source? Let's say like the power grid goes down. Just play out a scenario. Let's say the power grid goes down and you have no electricity, no gas, no water. How set are you? Um, Now take that scenario and add there's no food on the shelves at your grocery stores. Do you know some local farmers? Do you know some people who grow their own food? Do you grow some of your own food? Do you have some stuff in storage? What do you do about getting a clean water source? What do you do about power and heat keep staying warm? What if this happens in the wintertime? Do you have a generator? These are things to be thinking about. And I highly encourage you to start making moves because it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And as Chicken Little taught us, the time to prepare is now. I don't know if Chicken Little actually taught us that, but so I think that actually covered just about everything. If you guys enjoyed this episode, share it up, as I mentioned. If you want to know how you can support, if you're looking to level up your life physically, mentally, and spiritually, you can go to biohackercoaching.com and let's have a conversation about whether or not our coaching program is for you. If you want to make a donation or send in a handwritten letter about your biohacking story, the ways that, our book, podcast, videos, anything that we've put out has helped to level up your life and improve the quality of your life. You can send those to P.O. Box 7151, Deerfield, Illinois 60015. And either way, also check out Gainesville coins just because it's good to have that in seem quite intent on destroying the dollar and are trying to crash our economy. Some things that are a little bit less, uh, we'll call it depression and that are more depression and recession proof, like gold, silver, copper. You can get those at Gainesville Coins. Very good, highly reputable company. So we'll talk a little bit more about our use of electronics and things like that. But I think it's increasingly important to have your phone in airplane mode. Don't go everywhere with your phone. Pay with cash. A lot of people are getting rid of Wi-Fi and going with landlines. And even more people are getting the smart meters that send a blast of electrical radiation 2 to 6 times a minute off of their homes and swapping it out for the old analog meters. Many states have an opt-out program. Many states do not, and require you to really be a pain in their ass in order to get it removed. But that's, reason number 874 why going off grid is the true power move. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully you got some value from this episode. We'll probably release it as a podcast too. Remember to check out waterislife.shop to pick up the Mayu water vortexer and give Isabel Friend a shout out. And that's all I got for you guys today. We'll see you soon. Another episode. Have a beautiful week.